informative, instructive, insightful, interactive, involved. From JS Statia, this is Shedding Light. It's your invitation to a positive exchange of ideas on the developments in government that matter to you. And now, live from our offices in Princess, here are our hosts, Jessica Jack and Tina Lopes.
My name is Jessica Jack. Thanks for joining us on the radio and also online. As usual, we'll open up the lines for your questions and comments in a few moments. Please call us or send us a WhatsApp message on 318-4815. Or you can also share your Facebook thoughts on our Statia Government page. We look forward to hearing from you. I am delighted to announce that we have two guests joining us on today's program. The Director of Social Domain, Carol Jack Roseberg, and Policy Advisor, Elizabeth Jones. We will be discussing energy subsidies, social housing, and various topics within the Directorate of Social Domain. Thank you both ladies for joining us on today's program. Carol, as Directorate of Social Domain, can you tell us what the department do?
Good morning, radio listeners, and also those viewing us. The Directorate of Social Domain has various tasks. First of all, I want to start with the mission of the social domain. Our mission is that all the citizens of Statia, that they develop to their full potential. So it does not, regardless of what your academic level may be, we look more at your interests and what persons are capable of, and in that sense, we give them the support. Of course, it starts with the individual doing the most that they can on themselves. And when that is no longer available, there is where the Directorate of Social Domain comes in, and we give that support. The Directorate of Social Domain has two units, and one, well, it's not really a department on its own, but it's also affiliated to the social domain, which is the unit of public health that is divided in the prevention clinic. And then we have the unit of social affairs that takes care of the youth work, social work, and labor. And of course, we also do have the department that deals with the policy and management. There is where I have 4 policy advisors, of which Ms. Jones is one of them.
Okay. Ms. Jones, as Carol stated that you're a policy advisor, and what is your task within the department?
Yes. Good morning, radio listeners. What I do as a policy advisor within the social domain, we have different policy areas or terrains. We have labor, public health. We also have education. And my role is with social, and it's very broad. What I do, I look at, for example, if there are consultations for legislation, new laws or regulation or arrangements or programs coming also from the ministries, I assist and support with that. It is very much more than that. I don't know how deep you want me to go today, but I know we're going to touch on some various subjects that I work on, such example as the housing or the energy subsidies or other subsidy programs, and I assist or support. I'm an all-arounder, so wherever there is need or assistance needed in the directorate, I assist.
Okay, we'll get down to housing later down in the program. And I believe a year ago, the Ministry of Social and Welfare agreed that subsidies will be available for the best islands. Can you tell us where we are now with the subsidies, such as the energy subsidy?
Yes, as you said, in 2022, I think the arrangement started, the regulation started for the Netherlands a bit before us. However, in 2022, our program formally started. When we started, there were some things that we had to consider. For example, there were some persons that were denied due to the criteria at that point in time. However, throughout the time, we have had consultations with the ministry, but also we work along with the other islands, so Saba and Bonaire as well, to see, well, okay, hey, how is the program running and how is it going by you? So we evaluate regularly, and based on those evaluations, I'm glad to say that for this year we have, there are some adjustments in the criteria. I know that GIS will publish those soon for persons interested to know. So there are many more households that are now eligible for the subsidy as well.
Okay. Will it be an ongoing process?
That is something that I cannot say with surety. I know for this year, for sure, we are continuing with the program. For next year, we still are in conversations with the ministry if and how it will continue. So I will have to come back to update the community on that when we know more. Okay. It could also mean that the target group that we have now expanded to might not be able to receive it next year. That is something that we're still looking at. Because, for example, when we first started, it was more for households, all households that have a smaller pocketbook, not enough money to spend. Yeah. But we know that the cost of living on Seychelles is very high. So with that, we have now expanded it to higher incomes as well, or groups.
GIS posted a public notice, I believe 1 or 2 weeks ago, for interested persons who are willing to apply for this energy subsidy. Can you give more information about it?
Yes, persons interested, like I said, the chart will be posted on the government's Facebook page so that you can see if you're, if you want to know, well, hey, am I eligible before coming in by me? But of course, we are available on Wednesdays between 9 and 11 due to some understaffing at this moment. Before, persons could have come at any time. So we must apologize for that. However, they can come between 9 and 11. They have to bring their identification, a form of identification, their 3 payslips, and also their Estuco invoice, of course.
Electricity.
The electricity invoice, because that is, of course, the most important thing. We need your account number to be able to link it, to forward that onto Estuco so that they can process and apply the subsidy if or when you're eligible.
Person who apply for the energy subsidy, how long will it take for them to get back a response?
Yes, they're usually there within 2 weeks, but like I said, due to understaffing, this month has been longer than we usually would hope for. So I know that, but usually it's within 2 weeks you'll hear from us as soon as possible.
You mentioned a few moments ago about housing subsidy. Will it be available for the island of Statia?
Well, there were some things there are actually some things in the pipelines. One of them would be indeed housing subsidy. We have seen that there might be some risks, not risks, but some things that we have to iron out in that regard. So we hope to start soon, but that's still something that I'm ironing out. And aside, or how you say, in the verlengde from that, we have, thank you, in extension to that, we are in conversations with the ministry about a more structural program, because we had some funding available, but that funding was very limited, and we didn't want anyone that could be eligible to feel excluded. So the first group that we would start with is indeed a more of a limited group, based on the waiting list, for example, of the Housing Foundation. There are 100 and something households that are pending or hoping to have a social home that could be eligible, and those persons, with what we have, we want to start with that group. And of course, as the program becomes structural, we hope that we can assist or support anybody else that might need it.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Let's go into the social housing on the islands. How is it now for persons who would like to apply for social housing?
Yes, of course, anybody who's interested to apply for a social home should go to the Social Housing Foundation. However, persons that are having any difficulties with their standard or the quality of living or their home should pass also by the unit social support so that they can be assessed or have an intake with our social workers and social work assistants so that they can at least know of what exactly is the situation, because that is, I don't do the in-depth assessments, but we would need that if we have a program or something available to be able to further assist to know, well, hey, who needs what? So that would be the first step, would be to go by them, and of course registered at the Social Housing Foundation. As I said, there is currently a large waiting list of persons. Yeah, about 130 is the last that I remember, is 130 households that are in need of a social home that right now there is no, there are no homes for. One of the things that we're working on with the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Affairs, is that we're looking at a housing agenda, and that agenda will assist the government on a more of a long-term process on creating the affordable homes, or even for persons may be interested in, I'm saying this very cautiously, hopefully maybe starters that would like their own home. So those are things that are in the pipeline. Policy always takes some time from idea to realization. So of course persons might be hearing some things that they have heard already, heard me say on the radio that maybe have not been materialized as yet. But it is to know that policy takes some time. So we're now working out those things, and we hope that in the next coming years, we will be able to put down and realize these things that are very important for our community.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. You mentioned a few moments ago about you have 100 and something candidates on the waiting list. Carol, will there be in the near future more social housings to be built?
Well, that of course is the intention of the island government, to have more social housing available, but it is also, like Ms. Jones says, it will take a while. We all know that there is an agreement signed with the Ministry of Bezaka, with the island government and the Social Housing Foundation to build 500 homes, but it will take time. So the process is ongoing, and we hope that within short we can be that far.
You can go.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add a point of correction, because I know our community is very on point. It's 50 homes. Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry, 50
Yes,
homes.
yes.
500 is bonus.
Yes,
Sorry.
500 would be great, but we're not there yet.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth.
If you have any question or comments, you can give us a call at 318-4815, or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 318-4815. Carol, you were about to say something.
I just wanted to, going back to the social housing, and I think that is also very important based on what Elizabeth also said. Because we know that there is a shortage, that is also where the rental subsidy comes in. So at the Social Housing Foundation, there may not be enough homes, but we do have homes within the private sector. And so for that reason, then, the rental subsidy comes in place. So within short, the community will be hearing more about that.
And what are your thoughts about the subsidies, the rental subsidies, and also the energy subsidies?
Well, I think it's very good, because it's a support to the community. So it's a very good initiative that was done by the ministry by the different ministries. But I believe that within the coming years, as an island, we also have to look into how can we provide such subsidies as well. We know that the budget of the island government is limited, but we still have to think of ideas. How can we continue to support the community when these subsidies are no longer available? Because I do not think it is right, in my opinion, that you give the community a certain expectations, or that you support the community and then it stops abruptly. So even though the funding is available now, there should be a long-term planning. What will we do in the future when these subsidies are no longer available?
Elizabeth, would it be just an idea to have like town hall meetings or gatherings just to inform interested persons who would like to know more information about the subsidies?
I think it's a very, very good point you brought forward. It is one of, not to hijack Mrs. Jack's what she wants to present today, but it is one of the ambitions that we have within the directorate this year, that we also have more community engagement. So I can't give any surety of that or when that would happen right now. I know last year for the elderly, we had a session for them, with different time frames that we allow them to go to the Lions Den to come and register as well. So we will be looking into that this year, maybe how we can make it more accessible for persons that are interested or that would like more information. So I will take that along in our planning.
Okay, thank you. And what are your thoughts for the same question I asked Ms. Jones, Ms. Jack?
Yes, town hall meetings are always good. But the concern that I have with town hall meetings is that you don't always get the persons that you want to attend, that they attend to the town hall meetings. So besides town hall meetings, there should also be other means, such as this program, for example, where persons are more at ease, whether it's in their homes or maybe on their jobs, where they can listen to the information. So town hall meetings are always good, but we need to look besides town hall meeting, what are the other possibilities? And I know that Statia is not that far as yet, but I know, for example, in the Netherlands or maybe even other islands within the region, that they have started with, and I always have a difficulty pronouncing this word, digitization. So you can go online and you can find out what is going on, what is possible. So that is also an area that we have to look in Statia, that to make the services more accessible to the community. That brings along other challenges that we have to face, but to me, that is the long-term view that we should have. How can we make these services more accessible to the community in more ways than one?
Okay, thank you. We're going to go over right now to the subject, student allowance.
Mm-hmm.
For students who want to apply for student allowance, what are the procedures for that?
Just a small correction. We call it the ordinance for housing allowance, and indeed it's for students. It is for students who are younger than 18, because we have some of our, based on the educational system that we are in now, you do have students that do their exams when they are 16 or 17 years old, and for those students they are not eligible for a scholarship from the Netherlands. So for those students there is the possibility that their parents, because they are not yet 18 years old, their parents can apply for housing allowance. In order to apply for the housing allowance, of course, the parents will need to write a letter to the Executive Council requesting the housing allowance. They will have to include with that request the acceptance letter of the school that the child is attending. It must be school during the day, so no night school they can attend. And I think that is, yes, you have, of course have to send along your ID card and your banking information. Once that that request is by the Executive Council, it is then forwarded to the social domain, where we will make an assessment based on the criteria, and the parents will be informed whether the scholarship has been awarded, the housing allowance has been rewarded. I did have, I think late last year, some discussions with the Executive Council, and the Executive Council requested that we review the housing allowance, so we are busy doing that. It is already in draft, submitted to our legal department, so there may be some minor changes to the housing allowance, but it remains eligible, as I said, for students who are younger than 18 years old. One thing I must add to that, sorry, because we do have some students who are living on the island, but they do not have the Dutch nationality. So it makes it very difficult for these students to study, whether it's in the Netherlands or maybe Curaçao, St. Martin. Once the parent has been living on the island for 10 or more years, they too can apply for the housing allowance.
Okay. And is it only for the Dutch Kingdom, due to the fact you just mentioned Curaçao and St. Martin? What about for students who wants to go to school to Mexico, for example?
Well, that is an issue that that the Executive Council has requested that we review. We do have maybe 1 or 2 students now who are studying, in Mexico. However, not all of the schools are accredited. And we are in discussions, definitely I am in discussions with the Ministry of OCNW to see, what are the steps that we can take so that these students can study, whether it's in Mexico or whatever. So what happens if they inform us what university the student is going to, then with OCWA, you can make an assessment. They have to send in the program outline or the study outline. This will be evaluated to see whether it's accredited or not. So those are the areas in which the Executive Council is saying we should be working closer with the Ministry of OCWA, so that we can ensure that the colleges or the universities that our students are attending are accredited.
Okay. If you have any questions or comments, please send us a WhatsApp message or call us at 318-4815. Student athletes received a scholarship to further their studies in the United States. As a director of social domain, what will the government do to assist these students?
Well, these students, I think it applies the same as with all students. If they are 18 years or older, of course, they can apply for a scholarship to attend these colleges or universities in the U.S. The Commissioner Merkman, he did make one request, is for all students who obtain a sports scholarship that we look into the possibility of supporting them financially. So this is one of the changes that will also come in the housing allowance regulation. We are not that far as yet. As I said, it is by the legal department because, of course, it has to be reviewed by the legal minds. And as soon as that is finalized, it will be sent to the Executive Council for ratification. So, yeah.
Ms. Jones, what are your thoughts also to Carol's response?
Well, I think it's a good response in the sense of I think it is good to see that within our domain we try to look at to be innovative. You know, if there are new signals coming from the community or there are new things that are happening or developing, that we try to assess what we have going on in order to meet the needs of the persons that need it.
Here are stories from former students such as yourself, Carol. When applying for student allowance, what's the difference between then and now?
That's a long time. That's a long time ago.
Because I know from here. Sorry, go right ahead.
Well, you know, I left just like others. I left Statia at the age of 12. You know, so I don't think that they had that. The name was housing allowance at that time. As I can recall, all I know is that my dad received at that time 100 guilders from the government. I don't know exactly what the procedures were, but you know that he received 100 guilders at that time from the government, and then from that 100 guilders, 25 guilders would be for the student attending school for your pocket change, they call that, and then 75 guilders would be for their guardian wherever they went to school. So I don't know what the process or the procedure was for the application, but I do know at that time that is what the government could afford. So probably it is similar as the way it is done now, or maybe it was just standard because everyone had to leave the island anyhow, so as time passed, and I guess with the coming of the Gwendolyn Van Putten School, more regulations came into place. But when I was much younger, everyone had to leave at the age of 12.
So, as you mentioned, they received 100 guilders. 75 was for the guardian and 25 was for your
pocket change, yes.
So they wasn't allowed to pay like the schooling or for the books, and none of those was not included?
At that time, but I can only speak of my own experience. At that time, we paid no school books. We did not pay for school books or school fee. Okay. So though it was all incorporated, I guess because we were one Netherlands Antilles, so you just left from Statia and went to Curaçao, and of course there you had your counselors, but that was not the case, having to pay school fee or buy school books. Of course, you will have to buy your copybooks or whatever, but I guess parents at that time, they contributed, and I guess they do the same thing now. They contributed as well in what they can and what they could.
And also from stories, what I've been hearing, the students now are fortunate to be traveling every school vacation, every time they come home. And I know for for persons such as you, that was not possible.
No, that was not possible. One of the regulations had that every 2 years, the island government would pay your travel ticket back home to see your parents, but parents who could afford, will send for their children every year, or maybe some even every vacation. But that possibility was there, so the government saw to it that you did return home. And when you returned home, another obligation that you had with the government, you had to present them your report card. So it's not just that you go to Curacao or wherever and you have a free time. No, you knew that when you're back in Statia, that report card had to be presented to, at that time, the commissioner, and that was one of the criterias. If the financial assistance that your parents were receiving, if that would continue. So you did your best in school to ensure that you were promoted every year to a higher class.
And if that was not the case, to persons who went to school,
if they were not promoted, then you will get reprimanded. I'm sure that you heard of many stories at home where, where the commissioners at that time thought, well, here you are not doing well enough, so they would reprimand you. So you will be reprimanded twice at home, but by the commissioners as well. But everyone had that, well, I don't really want to call it fair, but that, hey, I need to do my best in order, to get the support that I need. And of course, you also wanted to make your parents proud, because not all parents were fortunate enough. So they really had to work very hard in order to support you when you were off island. Because even though you had, at that time, 75 kilos or whatever the amount was, it was not enough. Yeah. So some students were not as fortunate as others, depending in what home you were in.
Elizabeth, and what were your story back in the day when studying?
Well, of course, my background is in Aruba, and we also had I don't remember what it's called. It's just I think a study financing from Aruba as well, and you had, of course, the one from the Netherlands. And what requirements we had? I'm trying to think now. We had a mentor that visited us ever so often to see how we were going and to monitor our progress. So that is what we had, and I think that was about it. I'm trying to remember the amount.
No problem.
I don't remember that, but yeah, that is kind of how our process was. You would register for your parents, and of course would have to be the one. I left though when I was way older. I left when I was 21. I wanted to have a different. Not change an environment necessarily, but I saw my environment and I was like, I want my life to be different. So based on that, I went a whole other route, and that I will try to spare you all from, because it's a long story. But I went a whole other route than usual students. I went to the MAVO, I went to the HAVO, and in the HAVO I kind of wasn't really feeling it anymore. And with that, I decided at 21 I wanted to further my studies in the Netherlands. I did a toelatingsonderzoek. That allows you to enter HBO without having any backgrounds. I did a test for that. I had 74 subjects. And based on that, I was already in the Netherlands when I applied for the study financing from Holland and from Aruba Thais at that point in time. And that went via a friend of mine that had it as well, was like, hey, you should apply for this for extra or additional support. So that is kind of how my process went. It wasn't anything that without involvement of my parents, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago on Facebook, I believe on Statia Let's Debates, there were a post about Statia students living in Holland about their living situation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about that?
But I find it was very unfortunate, the situation that the student was living in at that time. I was approached by persons from the Netherlands as well about this, and also our youth participation coach, Ms. Ruisha Blake, approached me about this. And I ask her, to gather as much information as you can regarding this situation, but there may be also other situations in what students are facing in the Netherlands. That was done, and it was also forwarded to the Executive Council. We also spoke to the Ministry of Education, and out of that, a working group was formed, of which you have participation of the Gwendolyn Van Putten School. You also have the participation of the New Challenges Foundation, the Ministry of OCNW, and also our compulsory education officer, Ms. Jessica Jack, is part of, Mr. Jessica Henriquez, is part of the working group where they will be sitting together to really see, well, hey, what are the concerns that the students are facing in the Netherlands, and what can we do together? So an integral approach to better the condition of the students in the Netherlands. They will be also, after the working group meet, they will also be coming to the parents to hear, what are the ideas that you may have, so that we could have the involvement of everyone when we are moving forward with the case. But it has been an issue, not only what was placed on Facebook, but Ms. Jessica Henriquez and also Ms. Monica Smith, I think it was last year, Elizabeth, that they visited the students on the various islands. Curdy Lewis also went to the Netherlands and visited the students there, and to hear from the students themselves what are the challenges that they are facing. And so there is also an advice from within the social domain, what are the steps that can be taken to better the situation. So all of that will be brought to the table in this working group to see, which is the best way to approach this.
Hearing these stories, I guess, for the youngsters or students who wants to go to the Netherlands, do you think it will affect them, for students who want to apply to go to Holland?
Well, different situations affect persons in different ways. And of course, if you want to go to the Netherlands or wherever, in this case, it is the Netherlands, but of course, with the temperature or the weather also has an important part to play. But you can have different conditions within the region as well. So it can have an impact, but that is why I also think that the initiative that was taken late last year? The time goes by so fast. Yes, when Miss Lewis went with some students to St. Thomas for them to experience what it is living off island, going to a university, what are the things that needs to be done is very important. But also now that the Gwendolyn Van Putten School has also gone to the Netherlands with students, so before you, it gives you a view as to what can I expect when I am in the Netherlands, what can I expect, before I leave, even if it's in the region. So those type of initiatives are very important. So I applaud those initiatives, and I hope that it is something that we can continue to do. You give the students the opportunity. You don't just throw me into something. When I spoke earlier, I said I left the island at 12. I was fortunate because my mom lived in Curaçao. So I am going to my mom. I was kind of brought up in Curaçao. So I know the environment. But when you take me out of something, especially younger persons, you take me out of an environment that I am familiar with, and you just put me somewhere where, the culture is different. It has an impact. If you are maybe a bit more academically inclined, you can get accustomed, faster than someone who maybe is already struggling on the island, and you just send me to the Netherlands, or I choose to go to the Netherlands. There needs to be, what do you call it?
Transition.
Exactly. There needs to be that time of transition. And both Elizabeth and I attended a conference in Aruba 2 years ago, where we spoke about this in that conference, and arrangements were made that we will look into the I think they call it the mobility of the students. Give the students these opportunities. And what I find for me then kind of maybe frustrating is that there is at this moment a program, such a program that is being financed by the Netherlands. However, it is only for students who, for example, have the MBO3. So that means by default, Sabre and Statia are excluding because we do not have an MBO3. You understand? So you have MBO2A, and that is so you cannot qualify for that program. So that is something within the we will also be looking into, because we feel that the opportunities must be the same for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, so. Yeah.
Elizabeth, I see you shaking your head.
Yes.
Do you have any
Yes, I'm
thing you'd like to add to it?
I think in extension to what Director Jack already expressed, going back to the conference that we had in Aruba, what I really enjoyed about it is it brought the trajectory of education from a holistic perspective, where we too, as a directorate, or even if at that time representing Statia, was looking at, okay, what are all of the different areas that we have to support our students with. And I know, talking about one of the wishes or dreams or goals of the directorate is that we look at, what do you call it, I forget, the door open the lay line. Mm-hmm. It's where we look at what do children need, you know, from they start at, for example, kindergarten, a daycare, up until they are, well, 24 sometimes, yeah. They say, you know, what is needed to have a well-rounded student that leaves Statia to further their studies, or our students in general, what is needed. And I know with the, I forget the word, not the development, but with what came out the results of that conference, those are things that we from the directorate are looking at. I don't know if I can say it, but you know, maybe underwijs bureau, we don't know. Of course, that is not for us to decide. It has to go through the executive council. But those are things that we are seeing that is needed. I heard many stories that it used to be there, but we're seeing the need for it based on the not difficulties only, but how do we help our students to excel, and what is needed, and how can we as a directorate support in that. So that is something that we're looking at from a holistic approach that I'm really excited about, and I think that would further aid and assist in the different things that are already being implemented by my colleagues now to help our students to, like I said, to excel and to be their best and greatest person.
Yeah, maybe in the near future,
Yeah.
Carol, programs can be available on the island for persons or students who's interested to know more about it.
Yeah. But just adding a bit, sorry, my lip is a bit dry, to what Elizabeth said, the Executive Council and Commissioner Bergman did express the need to have such a bureau on the island. So, and also we discussed this with also the Ministry of Education, and so provisions are being made. Of course, there are different steps that are needed to be taken to have the establishment, maybe not a full department as yet, but at least that we can have a policy advisor on education that will serve as a sort of liaison between the island government and the Ministry of Education. So hopefully within this year that will be realized.
Okay. If you have any question or comments, you can give us a call at 318-4815 or send us a message on 318-4815. Carol, are there any other programs within your department that will be happening this year?
Before I go over to what is happening this year, I just want to inform the general public of the different subsidies besides the energy subsidy, that other services that we are offering are, for example, the child play subsidies. That is for parents who would want to have their children in daycare, but because of maybe they are not working, so they are not able to pay the parental fee, and that is a possibility for the Kindplaats, the child allowance. We also
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah.
No, I was just going to ask, it will it be for just all the daycares on the island or just specific daycares?
No. It's applicable for it's up to the parent, of course, which they want their child to attend. So it's applicable for all the daycare centers. We also have the food bun program. Besides the food bond program, we have for the school necessities, that is for children in the elementary school, because the RCN takes care of the school necessities for those at the secondary level. Besides that, those are the subsidies that we have available. Of course, you can always call the department. Right now, for most subsidies, you will have to go to the Labor Department. But within the directorate, we are also looking how can we streamline these services and have the public visit one department instead of going from department to department or from office to office for the different services. How can we streamline this so you go to one office and you make your application? Of course, where the assessment and different things come in, you may have to incorporate the other departments as well, but that is back office work. But we want to make sure that these things remain accessible to everyone who are eligible, but you make it laagdrempelig. I can't remember.
The threshold, yeah.
Yes, so the threshold is low, but we also want to ensure that you don't have to repeat your story 2 and 3 times, for the same thing. So these are some of the areas with regards to the subsidy that we are working with. But I also want to mention that in the recently afspraken akkoord agreement that the island government signed with OCNW, we also agree that we will have the one-stop shop, and the possibilities are there. Of course, the discussions still need to take place, that even some of the services that the SZW, RCN are offering, that also will be part of the one-stop shop. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will come over to government, but we are looking for ways how can we work closer together.
Okay, thank you. And if interested persons, can they also pass by the Public Health Department on the Cottage Road?
For the subsidies,
who would like to apply for the subsidies?
Well, of course, they can pass at the public health, but then we will in turn refer them to the department in which they need to, because then of course, like I said, an assessment needs to be done, and the persons who are doing the assessments are qualified. So we may take your request, but there may be certain things that we omit in asking you. Of course, there are forms, but these persons know, so the social workers and the social workers assessment, they have the capacity to do the assessment. So you can visit us, but we will refer you to them.
Okay, thanks. As I asked earlier, are there any other programs will be available within your department for the year?
Programs available. One of the programs that is available and will be ongoing, we hope for a very long time, is one of the programs at the Department of Labor, which we call it Iedereen doet mee, which is everyone participates. With that program, we offer persons who have a long distance to work, whether maybe they do not have the academic level, or they do not have the necessary skills, that they cannot be employed. It takes them longer to be employed, but we are offering programs so that those persons can be part of the labor force as well. And that is done in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Affairs. So that is one of the programs that will be ongoing. Another program that we are looking into to start this year, and I will just ask Elizabeth briefly to elaborate more on it, because Elizabeth is a member of that working group, is the program for maatschappelijk ondersteuning. Elizabeth, just briefly, because we don't want to go into much detail.
Yes,
yeah?
One of the things that we're working on is indeed a maatschappelijke ondersteuning, which is,
social support.
Yes. But that is mostly geared towards assisting persons that might have any limitation that they can have to support. So I know, for example, some people know the home care. So the home care is now, well, it still falls, of course, within the hospital, and that doesn't change, but the services that it provides are also called maatschappelijke ondersteuning, so social support. So what we're looking at is what is needed on the island, who needs them, and to see, well, what else might be missing. Because like I said already, I mentioned, for example, home care, but there might be other things that persons might need that might not be readily available at this moment. So we're looking at how else can we further assist persons so that they can participate fully within the society. one of the two, we have agreed so far on two pilot projects that we want to start with. One of them will be transportation. I'm not going to say public transportation. It's still being worked out on how we want to, what kind of form we want to give it, but it will be transportations to persons that might have, like I said, a limitation. I hope that we can extend it to public, but once again, I'm going to be cautious with that one because it's still in development. Another one that we're going to look at is to create activities at the community center. So once again, these are in the pipeline, so we don't have it developed down to the details, so I can't say what activity or what have you, but those are things that we're working on, programs or project pilot programs that we're working on, in which, at least for Station, we're going to start with the MO, with the Mascoplik Ondersteuning for the Social Support, and then to look to see how we can extend it, if need be, to any other services that the community might require.
Okay. Carol, you mentioned that the program Iedereen Doet Mee. Can you tell us who came up with that idea?
Yes, I can, but even before I do that, I just want to mention also that another subsidy that the island government has approved, and this is purely from our regular budget, is the Sport and Culture Fund. We know that there is a lot of attention now for culture, but also there's a lot of attention now for sport. So these subsidies are available. It's not grant subsidies, but if there are organizations that would want to organize an event or what have you, there is the possibility to be partially financed. What is required, of course, you can always call, I think everyone on the island has my phone numbers, 318-1824 for the sport organizations, and I can email you a request form, which you, after filling it in, of course, it comes back to me, and I will form a committee that does that will assess your request, and you will also be informed within 2 weeks whether or not your request will be honored. Also, for the sport fund, there is the possibility of, you have, again, you may have parents who financially are not able to support their children in sports. Maybe it is buying a swimming trunk, or maybe the shoes that are required for a type of sport that you are doing. For those parents, there is also the possibility that you can be assisted financially. So the same procedure, you just pass by the office, or you give me a call, and then I will let you know, what are the requirements. That is what is going to be happening presently. But as I said previously, we are trying to streamline everything from one department. So when it is that far, that everyone knows, we go, for example, to the unit social support, and there we can fill in our applications. But for the time being, if you can give me a call, or you can pass at my office, then I will guide you into what needs to happen.
Is it also going for, I know they have a lot of young students on the island playing sports. Is government also assisting those students, especially if they go away to play for sports?
Well, I think you asked me that question previously. And as I said, within the housing allowance, we are reviewing that to also include that component of children who may be leaving the island for sports, and how we can assist them financially. And then your question was about everyone participates. This program came about after discussions with our policy worker for labor, Mr. Gregory Melford, and his colleagues, of course, at the Labor Department. And you want to ensure, because everyone is talking about poverty, and one of the ways, it is not the only way, but one of the ways out of poverty is to ensure that people are working, that you are placed on the job market. And in doing this and looking at what was happening on the island, I think it's almost maybe for 3 years now that this program is ongoing. They came with the idea, well, hey, how can we support these persons? It's not just having them placed on the labor market, but it's also coaching them. And that is why we have, at present, 2 of the employees at the Labor Department have graduated from the course as a job coach. So they will be coaching these persons, you know, on the job, ensuring that they know, hey, why am I working? Why is it important for me to be at the work? If I am encountering difficulties, who can I speak to? You know, what are the things that I can do? But also coaching the employees. How can I assist these persons, you know, in a better way? So, like I said, that program is ongoing. We recently received financing again for 2024. And from discussions that I have had with the Ministry of Social Affairs, I think it was last week that Sjoerd was here. Yeah, it is going in the direction that this will become something that is structural. But we need to have, you know, ongoing discussions and how we can maintain this program.
Okay. A couple of weeks ago, GIS posted up a public notice about a shoemaker will be on the islands.
Yes.
Can you give us a small information about it?
Yes, the shoe repair program is one that I've been waiting on for a long time, and I'm happy to say that it will start. I think it's in March. I don't know the exact date, but all arrangements have been made. We have an agreement with the facilitator, who should be here within short. The equipment that is needed has already been ordered. There is just one small item that needs to be finalized, which is the location, but that is a process that is ongoing. And hopefully by next week, or maybe within 2 weeks, we can finally say, well, hey, this is the location where we are going to start. I think Mr. Melford informed me that there were 10 applicants for the shoe repair program. Out of the 10 applicants, I think 3 were selected to take part in not 3, sorry, 7 were selected to take part in this shoe repair job program, because these 7 persons have also have the wish to, after the program, that they want to open their own business. And that doesn't mean that the 3 persons were left by the wayside. No, there is another program that is coming up, and they will be automatically placed, not in the shoe repair program, but another program which I don't want to give information about it right now because it's still in the pipelines, and they will be placed in that program. So we are looking for all ways possible in which we can support the community to become resilient and self-reliant.
Okay, thanks. Someone sent a WhatsApp message by the question, does government also support teams traveling abroad for tournaments?
Yes, government has done that in the past as well, and we will continue to do that. But as I mentioned, you can send in your request. We will support where we can, but it does not automatically mean that you will be fully financed for the amount that you requested, because it's a limited amount of funds that we have, and we would want to spread that as much as possible so that everyone can make use of that opportunity. So the answer is yes.
Okay. And will there be any more programs in the near future from the Labor Department?
Well, I guess as time develops, and I think Elizabeth is the one that said that, you know, based on the developments or the trend within the community, then as the social domain, not only the Labor Department, but the social domain in its entirety, we will be looking into what programs or what activities can we organize in order to support the community.
Carol, an internal general assembly was held 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yes.
And you stated your goals for 2024.
A lot of them.
Can you just name a few, because we're almost time, the program is almost coming to an end. So can you just name a few?
Yes, well, my goals, well, I don't want to stick it to 2024 only, because I want to link it to the agreement that the government has signed with the ministry, and it's for 4 years. So my goal for this coming period is that there is the social domain has, I think in 2020 we worked on a master plan, and in the master plans we have identified the different areas in which you would want the community to develop. But of course, it's not what the social domain wants, but it's what based on what is going on in the community, again, based on the trends. So for the social domain, we look at what is going on, not only in Statia, but in our surroundings, and based on that, we organize policies, you have events, you have activities, so that you can, you can prepare persons to what is coming in the future. So what we want to do within short is that we want to review our master plan, because it has been for a few years already, and make the necessary changes, not only Statia, but we are going to do that in collaboration with the ministries, the Ministry of Public Health, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Social Affairs, and the Ministry with Interior Affairs. And the goal for doing that is that we are going to be looking at how can we develop our community to meet the century that we are in. What is needed for our community to move forward? I am linking it back to last year, or it was the year before, where the Statia Day slogan was, it's in our DNA. Right? So there is so many different things that that we can do as stations, but the right opportunities are not always there. And we can't always wait on these opportunities. Sometimes you have to give it a little push or a little nudge. And that is what we are there for. How can we nudge our community in the right direction? So that is what we will be focusing on. Again, community development, community development, community development. It won't happen in one day or 1 week, or maybe not even 1 year, but it needs to happen. But the community must also realize that it's a work in progress, and they too have to do their part. So if you have ideas, you can always call, you can always email us and let us know what are your ideas, as how can we support you. It can be in various ways, but we are there with, I'm sure that with a listening ear. One of the other things that I want to work on as well is that we do not sit in our offices all the time. I think as the social domain, we have to be more outreaching. Yeah, that's the right word in English. Yeah. We have to be more outreaching. We need to go out in the community and be with the community and see and hear, because it is not always a comfortable feeling for persons to come into you. But when you are in the community, I mean, I'm kind of, I think what you say in English, the thing is speaking to the choir. I am a very private person, so I am not out in the community that much, but I need to push myself to be more, to listen more.
Show interest.
But it's not that the interest is not there, but everyone has their own character. Some persons are very social, and others, even though they are social, they are still kind of laid back. Hey, even the cat, the bone cake, look to see what is going on before I feel comfortable. So we need to be out there more, not only sit in our offices. Elizabeth mentioned earlier that last year, for example, you sat at the Lions Den and you had sessions with the elders. So those type of things we need to do. Go to wherever we can reach the persons in the community, and not only in our offices, because it can be a threshold for persons to come to ask for support.
Yeah. Thank you, Carol. As you mentioned, everything takes time, and as you say, Roman was not built in one day. For interested person who wants to apply for energy subsidy or know more information about the subsidies, can pass by the health department located on a Cottage Road. And for the energy subsidy, that will be on every Wednesday between 9 and 11 a.m. Please tune in at 10:30 a.m. for Commissioner's Desk. Elizabeth and Carol, I would like to thank you ladies for joining us on today's program. I am Jessica Jack. This is Shedding Light for today. On behalf of our camera technical and operator sound engineer, Michael Spanner, and the entire team of GIS, thank you and goodbye.